March of 1985, a new game studio was formed by two brothers, Takeshi and Yoichi Miyagi. That company would be called Game Arts. The first games from Game Arts would be Thexter and QB Panic. Game Arts would produce games covering different genres throughout the 80s and early 90s, and even games based on solitaire. The genre Game Arts would end up becoming most known for would be the role-playing game genre. Their first role-playing game would be Faria, A World of Mystery and Danger for the Famicom. Originally released in 1989 in Japan, localized in North America in 1991. In 1992, Game Arts would release a game that would help put them on the map, Lunar the Silver Star. Lunar would be co-developed by Studio Alex, founded by Kazunari Tomi, former programmer for Nihon Falcom. Lunar would also stand out for its collaboration with Toshiyuki Kubuka. Kubuka is known for his contributions to anime like Gunbuster, Nadia, Yamato 2520, and arguably his most recognizable contribution to anime, the character designer and animation director for the Giant Robo OVA. And what Kubuka did for Giant Robo, he would do for the entire Lunar franchise. This combination of the role-playing game genre and the anime industry would help make the Lunar series stand out among fans of the role-playing game genre. But it would also serve as the foundation for what would soon become Game Arts' biggest game, Grandia. Grandia would be Game Arts' next original role-playing game after the successful Lunar Eternal Blue, released in 1994 for the Sega CD. Due to Sega focusing on the Saturn, Grandia's development found a new home, away from the add-on that helped make them stand out. But developing for the Saturn would help make Grandia the biggest role-playing game they have done at that point, with the development period spanning 2+ years. It was also during this time that Japanese RPGs were becoming more popular with the release of titles like Final Fantasy VII, Chrono Trigger, and Dragon Quest VI. Instead of going with the popular trends of mid-90s RPGs, Game Arts sought to provide consumers with good games rather than try to follow market trends. 20,000 frames of animation were produced for this game. A3P produced the animated scenes. A3P most recognizable for their works at the time in anime like Project A-ko, Robot Carnival, Rojin Z, and the 90s JoJo's Bizarre Adventure OVA. Takeshi Miyagi would be one of the directors of this ambitious game. Co-directing the game with him would be animator Toshiaki Hontani, who has done key animation for titles like the A3P movies mentioned earlier, except Robot Carnival, and additional films like Akira, Megazone 23 Part 2, and Royal Space Force, The Wings of Oniamis, the latter being a Gainax title. Gainax had previously collaborated with Game Arts on Alicia Dragoon, thus making Hontani's involvement with the game indirectly Game Arts' second game to be worked on by someone with experience at Gainax. Noriyuki Iwadare, who composed the score for the Lunar games, was brought in to score Grandia. Iwadare used the world of the Lunar games as the inspiration for his scores. For Grandia, Iwadare would take inspiration from the world which was crafted by another well-known talent in the anime industry, Osamu Kobayashi. Before Grandia, he worked as a cleanup artist for Dragon's Heaven and Venus Wars. Grandia would end up being Kobayashi's first major project, designing the world of Grandia and giving Iwadare the guidance and style suggestions he needed to help compose the game. Kobayashi would continue to be a world builder for games like Evolution, The World of Sacred Device, and Gungrave. Kobayashi would become even more recognized for his works in Blue Submarine 6, Gadgard, and the two anime that would arguably give him the most recognition, the director of the anime adaptations of Beck Mongolian Chop Squad and Paradise Kiss.
12月18日グランディア12月18日グランディア12月18
冒険はもう始まっているグランディア予約受付中セガサターン
Grandia was released in December 1997 for the Saturn in Japan. Unfortunately, the game would not be released in any other territory, at least that was the original plan. Despite the demand for an international release, including a petition from fan site lunar.net, which was even covered by GameSpot, Sega would not budge on releasing the game outside of Japan. It seemed hopeless that Grandia would ever be released internationally, but in March of 1999 at the Tokyo Game Show, a PlayStation port of the game was announced. This version of the game would get the worldwide release that the original Saturn release never got, with the North American release being published by Sony themselves in October 1999 and by Ubisoft for the European release in March 2000. In 2019, Grandia would be re-released as part of the Grandia HD collection for the PC and Nintendo Switch. This collection would be published by Gung Ho Entertainment, and in addition to all the necessary modifications needed to make the game accessible on a modern system like language options, widescreen support, and visual improvements, this version of Grandia would combine the PlayStation source code with the missing details and effects from the original Saturn release, making this version of Grandia the definitive version. Game Arts already knew how to release masterclass gaming experiences that blended epic JRPG storytelling with the authentic storytelling you get in classic anime films. Grandia took what Game Arts had already achieved and took it to new heights. Grandia would become a blend of video game industry and anime industry experience coming together to form a one-of-a-kind story to behold, to listen, and to experience behind the controller.
Introducing Nintendo Score 64 and win at Taco Bell. Just peel the coin off the lid, score 64, and you could win an N64 system, cash, or millions of other great prizes. And who knows who'll win the Porsche Boxster. It's Score 64 and win, only at Taco Bell.
Grandia, composed by Noriyuki Iwadare. Gamers knew that developer Game Arts was very capable of producing great role-playing games, like the Lunar games and their enhanced remakes. Grandia was developed by most of the key staff that worked on the original Lunar titles, including the series director Takeshi Miyaji, and the primary series composer Noriyuki Iwadare, who was asked to join the team due to his experience with game arts at that point. The art for the game immediately resonated with Iwadare, as he was able to compose the main theme of the game in one night based solely on the inspiration he got from looking at the concept art for the game. As for the overall soundtrack, he was able to use what he described as the latest technology at the time. In addition to finding inspiration through illustrations, he also found inspiration in the works of Hiroshi Miyagawa, composer for the original Space Battleship Yamato series. In addition to the synth pop rock style incorporated in the soundtracks of the Lunar games, Grandia features some of Iwadare's most soothing, symphonic, relaxing works at that point of his career. It helped make his work on the Grandia games just as popular as his work on the Lunar games. There are no vocal themes in this game, but this game was promoted using the song It's the End by popular J-rock group La Arc-en-Ciel.
This is RPG, Grandia.
Since its original '97 release, fans outside of Japan clamored to play the game, even starting a petition on fansite lunar.net. It wasn't until 1999 that North America would receive a port of the game released on the PlayStation, published by Sony themselves. Future installments of the game did not take nearly as long to localize as the first one did. Iwadare would serve as the sole composer for every game in the entire series, taking the encouraging synth-pop rock style of music that helped establish the Lunar series while doing more with the eclectic and ethereal style of music. Iwadare redefined his music career with his work on Grandia. Grandia would also become his more successful soundtrack since the original Lunar game, and would continue to help enhance the entire Grandia series with his ability to put you in a relaxed state or in a motivational mood to fight and do your best.
Plumbers, rabbits, mazes, monkeys, demons, dragons, evil, jungles, puzzles, barrels, bombs.
Stick it.
Stick it in your pocket.
Stick it. Sweat, swim, run, panic, kick, scream, live. Game Boy Pocket. Stick it.
Stick it in your pocket.
Stick it. In pocket. Stick it.